Zanies, I knew this day was coming. It's finally happening. If you don't already know, the developers of Emergency Response Liberty County have entered into what appears to be a strategic partnership with the developers of Greenville. I have all the details for you, so make sure you're subscribed because you don't want to miss this one. Cars. Let's talk about cars, Zanies. From the handful of Greenville videos I've made, I know that the vast majority of you are aware that Greenville uses fictional names for all of their in-game vehicles. This includes fake makes and fake models. And in case you don't know, the make of a vehicle is normally the brand or the subsidiary that manufactures a particular car line and not necessarily the mother company. Examples of this are the Volkswagen Group, who I believe is the largest auto manufacturer in the world. I don't know, don't quote me on that, but what I do know is that they actually own Audi, Porsche, Lamborghini, Ducati, Bugatti, and of course Volkswagen proper, along with several others. Another example of this is GM or General Motors, which actually owns Chevrolet, Cadillac, GMC, Opel, and other accessory and parts companies. Keep this in mind because this is going to be very important later in the video. And just to finish this point, the model of a vehicle is nothing more than, say, a Suburban, a Civic, or a Wrangler. That's not to be confused with trim lines. Trim lines are normally defined as levels of features or packages such as Denali, M Sport, or Prestige, just to give a few examples. Before we completely move on, and so that it's crystal clear on why this ERLC and Greenville partnership is important, these brands I just mentioned care deeply about their image, namesake, and reputation. Please continue to keep this in mind. Let's now take a closer look at Greenville. Throughout the car menu, you'll see names like Wolfsburg, Falcon, Chrysler, Bullhorn, Mitsushima, and many others. What they've done here is modeled in-game cars after real-life cars and have attempted to create a subliminal tie to brands we all know. And if you ask me, it works. Simply by how the cars are made, we can deduce that Wolfsburg might be Volkswagen, Falcon might be Ford, Bullhorn might be Dodge, and Mitsushima might be Mitsubishi, and so on and so on. Jumping over to ERLC, we can see that the fictitious names and models are not present. Till this day, ERLC has used real-world makes and models for every single one of their cars. At this point, you might be wondering, Zany, why does this matter and where are you going with all of this? Well, here's your answer. Remember when I said that the big brands such as Ford, GM, and Volkswagen care deeply about their name and image? These brands I just mentioned care deeply about their image, namesake, and reputation. Well, traditionally, in order to use their name, you must enter into a legally binding licensing agreement. This licensing agreement essentially gives a private company or the developers of a video game the rights to use the name Ford, GM, or Volkswagen. These licensing agreements will normally always come with covenants and conditions, fees, and royalties, not to mention that they will almost always come with right of final approval. Yeah, I know, it can be very complicated. All you need to know is that it would be hurdle after hurdle after hurdle for any game developers, not just those on Roblox, to achieve a successful partnership with these big brands without extensive back and forth. And back to Liberty County one more time. In order to avoid any kind of licensing strikes or trademark violations, it is a 100% prudent choice for ERLC to move away from using actual brand names now that Emergency Response Liberty County is growing by leaps and bounds. The last thing we need is for these giant companies to come after our boys over at ERLC headquarters or even Greenville headquarters. For those of you that are curious, here's an example of how much these brands safeguard their name. If you don't care to hear any of this, feel free to skip about 45 to 60 seconds ahead. Although this is purely suspicion and speculation on my part, a brand like Volkswagen would never give a game like Grand Theft Auto a license to use their name or brands. Why? Because Grand Theft Auto is full of vehicles breaking down, being blown up, and are stolen left and right. This might sound silly, but believe me when I tell you that Volkswagen would not like to create the perception that their vehicles are easily broken into, can be dismantled after only one car crash, nor would they like to see their cars blown up left and right, real or fake. Conversely, they are probably quick to partner with companies like Polyphony Digital, Turn 10 Studios, Studios, who are the makers of Gran Turismo and Forza respectively, because they love to create the impression that their cars handle well, they drive fast, and that one day you too can own one in real life. It might sound crazy, but I know what I'm telling you. This is how serious it can truly be. So now that we have all of this information, when is all of this happening and what can we expect? According to a recent tweet by Mr. Fergie, and by the way, I still don't know how to say that properly. Is it Mr. Fergie or Mr. Fergie or Mr. Furby? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. But anyway, an update should be coming this weekend, meaning August 7th or 8th. He wrote, ERLC has partnered with Greenville to rename all of our in-game vehicles. The new vehicle names will be carried over from Greenville. Hopefully, this will allow players to easily recognize the brands between the two games without relearning them all. We are changing the fictional brands because we want to avoid any legal issues regarding in real-life branding. Huge thanks to Greenville developers for partnering with us and sharing their fictional brands. It's a win-win for the players, no need to remember different brands for each game. Alright, so what does this mean? With this update, we'll see a name change for every single vehicle in Emergency Response Liberty County. To be clear, what is happening is ERLC vehicles will be assuming the name of Greenville vehicles where applicable. This only applies to names. I don't think the visual recognition aspect that we know and are familiar with in ERLC will go away, but we should definitely expect the Ford Expedition to become the Falcon Traveler, the Jeep Wrangler will probably become the Overland Buckaroo, the Hummer will become the Rever Sport, and the Ford Explorer will likely become the Falcon Scavenger, just to name a few. Do you guys see where I'm going with this and what is being done? For all the trash I've talked about Greenville, I'm glad they've been willing to share their hard work, knowing that we all come from shared audiences and pools of players. I hope that this opens up the floor for future collaborations, whether it's feature, map, or content related. I don't think this partnership will end here. You're hearing it from me first, Zanies, and I'm calling it right now. We will see an ERLC and Greenville merger one day. It may not be today, and it may not be tomorrow, but mark my words, two will become one. Let me know if you like this informational style video. The last video I made like this has outperformed over 90% of all videos on my channel, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And by the way, I know I've been so slow on the uploads and on the gameplay. You have to forgive me, Zanies. I am really busy in real life, but I promise you things will be changing with the channel very shortly. But until then, long live the Zanies.